I'm Braden, 34 years old and a single dad to the most amazing 8-year-old daughter you could imagine. Amanda is the light of my life, even if my family doesn't always see her the same way. Growing up in a close-knit but judgmental family has its challenges, especially when your mom micromanages everything and your sister's kids are the gold standard for behavior. I never expected to be staring at my phone in disbelief, reading a group text from my mother saying, "We're doing Thanksgiving with just the well-behaved kids this year. Amanda can skip." The way my daughter's face crumpled when she accidentally saw that message over my shoulder broke something inside me. If you're watching this from somewhere where family drama hits close to home, hit like and subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to see how I finally stood up for my daughter this Thanksgiving. Family dynamics are complicated, aren't they? Mine certainly are. I've been divorced for 3 years now, sharing custody of Amanda with my ex-wife Jennifer. We manage a pretty civil co-parenting relationship, all things considered. Jennifer and I split after 10 years of marriage that gradually deteriorated into two people who barely recognized each other anymore. The separation was hard on Amanda, but we've done our best to provide stability across both households. Amanda is this bundle of creative energy and imagination. She loves art, music, dancing, and can spend hours creating elaborate worlds with her toys. She talks a mile a minute when she's excited about something, which is often. She doesn't always pick up on social cues about when to tone it down, and yes, she can be a bit loud and energetic compared to other kids her age. Her teachers have suggested she might have mild ADHD, but she's doing well in school and is genuinely kind-hearted. My extended family, however, has always had opinions about Amanda's behavior. At the center of it all is my mother, Margaret. Mom has always been the type who needs to control every situation. She raised us with rigid expectations about how children should behave. Seen and not heard was practically her mantra. When my sister Sarah and I were growing up, there was no room for messiness or spontaneity. Everything had to be perfect, especially when others were watching. Sarah took after Mom in many ways. She married young to David, a successful accountant, and they have 10-year-old twins, Jackson and Sophia. My niece and nephew are polite, quiet, and always dressed impeccably. They sit perfectly still at family gatherings, answer questions with rehearsed politeness, and never, God forbid, interrupt adults who are talking. Sarah constantly reminds everyone how they get straight, and how many awards they've won for piano and competitive swimming. Family gatherings have always been tense affairs since Amanda came along. Even as a toddler, she was more spirited than my sister's kids. Mom would make these little comments like, "My, she's certainly energetic, isn't she?" Or Sarah never had these issues with the twins. As Amanda grew older, the criticism became less veiled. Last Christmas was particularly difficult. Amanda was excited about the presents and kept asking when we could open them. Mom shot me a look and said, "Braden, perhaps you should teach your daughter about patience. Look at Jackson and Sophia. They haven't said a word about gifts." Later, Amanda accidentally knocked over a glass of water at dinner, and my sister sighed loudly and said, "This is why we can't have nice things when certain people are around." I've tried to defend Amanda without creating bigger scenes. "She's just excited, Mom," or "She's 8, Sarah. Kids make mistakes." But my defenses are usually met with raised eyebrows or comments about making excuses for poor behavior. The constant criticism has started to affect Amanda. She used to run into my mother's house with enthusiasm, eager to show her grandmother her latest art project or tell her about school. Now she hangs back, holding my hand tightly, asking in a small voice if Grandma will be mad at her today. Easter this year was another disaster. Amanda found the candy stash before the egg hunt was supposed to begin. She didn't take any, just excitedly told her cousins where it was. Mom acted like she had ruined the entire holiday. "This is what happens when children aren't taught proper boundaries," she said pointedly in my direction. I noticed Amanda withdraw after that, sitting alone with her basket of eggs, while the twins were praised for finding the most. The worst part is watching how the dynamics between the cousins have evolved. Jackson and Sophia have picked up on the adults' attitudes and have started treating Amanda with the same condescension. They exclude her from their games, whispering and laughing when she approaches. When Amanda tries to join in anyway, they complain to their mother that she's bothering them. Sarah encourages this behavior with comments like, "The twins just prefer more structured play, Braden. Amanda is a bit too unpredictable for them." As if my daughter is some wild animal they need to avoid. Thanksgiving has always been a big production in our family. My mother plans it weeks in advance, assigning dishes and decorations to everyone. The meal is always catered from an expensive local restaurant. None of us are particularly skilled cooks, but Mom insists on transferring everything to her fine china and crystal before serving. It's meant to look like she prepared it all herself. The charade is exhausting, but it's tradition. Each year, family members contribute financially to cover the catering costs. As a software developer, I'm doing well financially, so I typically cover a significant portion of the expense. Mom never fails to mention how generous I am at the dinner table, as if to compensate for the burden of Amanda's behavior. Last Thanksgiving, Amanda got excited and started dancing around the living room before dinner. Jackson made a snide comment about her being a baby, and Amanda responded by sticking her tongue out at him. You would have thought she'd committed a felony from my mother's reaction. Braden, please control your child. We're trying to have a nice family gathering. I took Amanda outside for a walk to calm her down, and found her crying, asking why Grandma didn't like her as much as she liked Jackson and Sophia. That night I had a conversation with my mother about her treatment of Amanda. She dismissed my concerns, saying, "I treat all my grandchildren the same. It's not my fault if Amanda can't behave appropriately." I left feeling frustrated and helpless. Over the past year, I've noticed Amanda becoming more self-conscious. She second-guesses herself constantly. Is this okay, Daddy? Will Grandma be mad if I do this? The confident, bubbly girl was being slowly replaced by a child afraid to be herself. That broke my heart more than anything else. Despite the tension, I never expected what happened 2 weeks before Thanksgiving this year. I genuinely thought we could work through our issues and eventually reach a place of mutual respect and understanding. I was wrong. So very wrong. It was a Sunday afternoon, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. Amanda and I were curled up on the couch watching a movie when my phone buzzed with a notification. A group text from my mother to the family. Me, my sister Sarah, her husband David, and my father who mostly stays silent during family conflicts. The message read, "After discussing with Sarah and David, we've decided to have a more peaceful Thanksgiving this year. We're doing Thanksgiving with just the well-behaved kids this year. Amanda can skip. It will be a more relaxing day for everyone, especially the twins who get stressed by all the disruption. Braden, you're still welcome to join us, of course." I stared at my phone, unable to process what I was reading. The casual cruelty of the message stunned me. Amanda, who had been leaning against my shoulder, peered over at my phone and went completely still. "Daddy?" Her voice was tiny. "Grandma doesn't want me to come for Thanksgiving?" I quickly locked my screen, but it was too late. She'd seen enough. Her face crumpled and tears welled up in her big blue eyes. "Why doesn't Grandma want me? Is it because I'm bad?" Those words shattered something inside me. I pulled her into a tight hug as she began to sob against my chest. Her little body shook with the force of her tears. "No, sweetheart," I whispered into her hair. "You are not bad. You are wonderful and kind and perfect exactly as you are." But my reassurances felt hollow against the explicit rejection from her own grandmother. Amanda cried until she exhausted herself, eventually falling asleep against me, her face still wet with tears. I sat there, holding my sleeping child, as rage unlike anything I'd ever experienced built inside me. How dare they? How dare they make an 8-year-old child feel unwanted? How dare they categorize her as not well-behaved when all she'd ever done was be a normal, energetic kid? After carrying Amanda to her bed and tucking her in, I returned to my phone. The group chat had continued without my response. "Sarah, it's really for the best. The twins were just saying how they wish they could have one holiday without Amanda disrupting everything. Mom, we're not saying she can't ever come to family gatherings again, just that this one time, we'd like a peaceful meal without having to walk on eggshells around her behavior. Dad, maybe we should discuss this more before making decisions. Mom, There's nothing to discuss. The arrangements are made. Braden will understand. I took a deep breath and typed a single response. Understood. I'll cancel my card for the event. That was it. No argument, no pleading, no defending. Just acknowledgement and the subtle reminder that I was a significant financial contributor to their precious Thanksgiving production. The responses were immediate. Mom, don't be dramatic, Braden. There's no need to cancel anything. You're still invited. Sarah, this isn't about money. It's about the children's comfort. I didn't respond. I turned off notifications for the group chat and set my phone aside. The cold calculation of it all kept hitting me in waves. This wasn't a spontaneous decision. They had discussed it, talked about excluding my daughter behind my back, planned it, decided her feelings didn't matter. Later that evening, my phone rang. It was Jennifer, my ex-wife. Even though we had our differences, she was still Amanda's mother, and we maintained open communication about important matters. Amanda just called me crying, she said without preamble. Something about your mother not wanting her at Thanksgiving? What's going on, Braden? I explained the situation, reading her the exact text. Jennifer's response was immediate and furious. Are you kidding me? Who does your mother think she is? And you're just going to let this happen? Of course not, I replied. I'm not taking Amanda anywhere she isn't fully welcomed and appreciated. Good, Jennifer said, her voice softening slightly. Look, why don't you two come to my place for Thanksgiving? My parents will be here, and they always love seeing Amanda. It was a generous offer, especially considering our history, but I had already started forming a different plan in my mind. Thanks, Jen. Can I think about it and let you know? I might have another idea. After we hung up, I sat in the dark living room thinking. The family Thanksgiving had always been this grand production that nobody really enjoyed. My mother stressed about every detail being perfect. My father retreated to watch football. My sister paraded her perfect children around like show ponies, and Amanda and I walked on eggshells, trying not to disturb the carefully constructed facade of family harmony. Every year, I contributed over $1,000 toward the catering, decorations, and whatever else my mother deemed necessary for her perfect Thanksgiving. And for what? To sit at a table where my child was made to feel less than? To watch her shrink a little more each time? No more. If they didn't want Amanda, they wouldn't get either of us, or my financial support. And if I was going to spend that money anyway, why not create a Thanksgiving where my daughter would feel loved and appreciated? As the idea took shape in my mind, I felt something I hadn't experienced in relation to family holidays in a long time. Excitement. The morning after receiving that devastating text, I woke up with a clear sense of purpose. While Amanda got ready for school, I started researching local caterers who might still be available for Thanksgiving. The first 3 I called were fully booked, not surprising with less than 2 weeks to go. But the fourth, a small family-owned business called Homestead Kitchen, had just had a cancellation. We can absolutely help you, said Maria, the owner. What kind of menu are you thinking? The full traditional spread, I told her. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, gravy, cranberry sauce, green bean casserole, rolls, pumpkin pie, the works. But I'd like to add some fun options too. Mac and cheese, which is my daughter's favorite, and maybe some kid-friendly appetizers. We can do all that, Maria assured me. How many guests are you expecting? That was the question, wasn't it? Who would come to our alternative Thanksgiving on such short notice? Let me get back to you on the final count, I said. But I'm thinking maybe 8 to 10 people? After dropping Amanda at school with extra hugs and reassurances that she was loved and wanted, I headed to work with a list of people to call during my breaks. My first call was to Thomas, a colleague who had become a good friend over the years. Thomas had mentioned that his wife's parents had canceled their Thanksgiving visit due to health issues, leaving their family of 4 at loose ends for the holiday. Hey, Thomas, I said when he picked up. Random question, but do you guys have Thanksgiving plans yet? Not really, he admitted. Alicia and I were just talking about maybe doing a small thing with the kids. Why? I explained the situation with my family, trying to keep the bitterness out of my voice. So I'm putting together an alternative Thanksgiving at my place. Would you, Alicia, Emma, and Tyler want to join us? Man, that's terrible about your family, Thomas said sympathetically. But yes, we'd love to come. The kids adore Amanda. Emma's been asking for a playdate for weeks. One family down. I felt a surge of hope. My next call was to Daniel, my oldest friend from college days. We'd been close for years, but had drifted somewhat after he moved to a neighboring city for work. I knew from our occasional catch-up calls that he was going through a difficult divorce and would likely be alone for the holiday. "Danny, it's Braden," I said when he answered. "How are you holding up?" We chatted for a few minutes about his situation before I broached the topic of Thanksgiving. "I'm putting together a gathering at my place. Nothing fancy, just good food and better company. Would you want to join us?" Daniel's voice brightened noticeably. "I'd really like that, Braden." To be honest, I was dreading sitting in my apartment alone with a microwave dinner. "None of that," I assured him. "We're having the full feast, professionally catered. And Amanda will be thrilled to see her Uncle Danny." 2 more confirmations came later that day. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, a widow in her 70s who often brought over cookies for Amanda, was delighted by the invitation. "My son lives in Europe, you know, so I usually just watch the parade on TV by myself. This will be much nicer." And surprisingly, Jennifer's parents called me directly after hearing about the situation from their daughter. "We're coming to your Thanksgiving," announced Martha, my former mother-in-law, in a tone that brooked no argument. "Jennifer told us what Margaret said about Amanda, and it's simply unacceptable. That child is a delight, and we won't have her thinking otherwise." "What about your plans with Jennifer?" I asked, touched by their loyalty to Amanda. "We'll do an early lunch with Jennifer, then come to your place for dessert and evening festivities," Martha explained. "That granddaughter of ours deserves to be surrounded by people who appreciate her exactly as she is." By the end of the day, I had 9 confirmed guests who genuinely wanted to celebrate with us. I called Maria back at Homestead Kitchen to finalize the menu and guest count. Next came decorations. I wanted this to be special, not my mother's version of a perfect Thanksgiving, but a warm, welcoming celebration where everyone, especially Amanda, could relax and be themselves. I found a party supply store that offered next-day delivery and ordered autumn-themed decorations, a beautiful tablecloth, and even some fun activities for the kids. Throughout the week, as I prepared for our alternative Thanksgiving, my phone continued to buzz with messages from my family. I hadn't responded to any of them since my brief understood text, which was apparently driving them crazy. "Mom, Braden, you need to respond. We need to know if you're coming so we can finalize the seating arrangement. Sarah, stop being childish. Mom's just trying to make a nice holiday for everyone. Dad, son, call your mother. She's getting worried." I let them all go unanswered, focusing instead on creating something positive. Each evening I'd show Amanda pictures of the decorations I'd ordered or ask her opinion on menu items. Gradually, her excitement began to build, replacing the hurt from my mother's rejection. "Can we make place cards for everyone, Dad?" she asked one night while we were discussing table settings. "I want to make really special ones with drawings for each person." "That's a fantastic idea," I told her. "We want everyone to feel welcome and special at our table." 3 days before Thanksgiving, as I was finalizing details with the caterers, the doorbell rang. Amanda was at Jennifer's that evening, so I answered it alone, surprised to find my mother standing on my porch. "We need to talk," she said briskly, walking past me into the house without waiting for an invitation. Some things never change. My mother stood in my living room, taking in the boxes of Thanksgiving decorations that had been delivered earlier that day. Her mouth thinned into a disapproving line. "What's all this?" she asked, gesturing at the packages. "Decorations," I replied simply. "For Thanksgiving. So you're not coming to the family dinner," she stated flatly. It wasn't a question. "No, we're not. This is ridiculous, Braden. You're breaking a family tradition because of one small request. The twins have been looking forward to spending time with their uncle." I had to laugh at that. The same twins who, according to your text, get stressed by all the disruption that Amanda causes? The ones who Sarah said, wish they could have one holiday without Amanda disrupting everything? Those twins? My mother's cheeks flushed. "You're taking things out of context. We just wanted one peaceful meal." "Let me be very clear," I said. keeping my voice steady, despite the anger building inside me. There is nothing peaceful about excluding an 8-year-old child from a family gathering because she doesn't meet your impossible standards for behavior. She's not being excluded. She just needs to learn that actions have consequences. I stared at her, truly seeing for the first time how distorted her perspective was. What actions, Mom? What horrible crimes has Amanda committed? Being energetic? Talking too much? Not sitting perfectly still for hours like Sarah's robots? That's unfair to Jackson and Sophia. They're well-behaved children. They're children who have been taught that their worth depends on meeting rigid standards of behavior. And now they're learning from you and Sarah that it's okay to exclude people who are different. What a wonderful lesson for Thanksgiving. My phone buzzed. Sarah was calling now. I declined the call, but seconds later, a text came through. Mom says you're being difficult. Stop breaking up the family over nothing. I held up my phone to show my mother. Is this how you raised us? To think that hurting a child's feelings is nothing? You're overreacting. Amanda will get over it. Something in me snapped. I pulled up the original text message and read it aloud, emphasizing every cold, calculating word. We're doing Thanksgiving with just the well-behaved kids this year. Amanda can skip. I looked my mother straight in the eye. Do you have any idea what it did to Amanda to read those words? To hear her own grandmother explicitly state that she's not well-behaved enough to be included in a family holiday? For the first time, uncertainty flickered across my mother's face. She wasn't supposed to see that text, but she did. And now she's asking me if she's a bad person, if there's something wrong with her. Do you know what that's like? To hold your crying child and not have any good explanation for why her family is rejecting her. My mother shifted uncomfortably. You're making this bigger than it is. We can talk to Amanda, explain that we just needed a quieter gathering this year. There is no explanation that won't reinforce the message that she's somehow defective, I replied, and I won't allow that to happen again. My phone rang once more. Sarah again. This time, I answered and put it on speaker. What are you doing? Sarah demanded without preamble. Mom went over there to straighten this out. And now you're both ignoring my calls? We're having a discussion about family values, I replied calmly. This is ridiculous, Sarah snapped. You're ruining Thanksgiving because Amanda can't behave properly for one day. The twins are upset that their uncle won't be there. The twins will survive, I said. Just like Amanda will survive being explicitly uninvited by her grandmother and aunt. You're blowing this way out of proportion, Sarah insisted. It was just a suggestion to make the day more relaxed for everyone. Let me ask you something, Sarah. Would you be so understanding if I had suggested that Jackson and Sophia skip Thanksgiving because they're too boring and judgmental? If I said their perfectionism stresses Amanda out? There was shocked silence on the other end of the line. That would be a horrible thing to say, Sarah finally responded, her voice tight with anger. Exactly. So why is it okay to say it about Amanda? It's not the same thing at all. Amanda disrupts everything with her behavior. She's a child, Sarah. An 8-year-old child who gets excited and talks too loudly sometimes. That's normal. What's not normal is adults who can't accommodate a child's natural energy and enthusiasm. My mother, who had been listening to this exchange with increasing discomfort, finally spoke up. Perhaps we've been a bit harsh. We could reconsider the arrangements. It's too late, I said firmly. I've made other plans. Amanda and I are having Thanksgiving here, with people who actually enjoy her company and appreciate her for who she is. You're having your own Thanksgiving? Sarah sounded incredulous. Who would even come on such short notice? People who care about Amanda's feelings. Friends, neighbors, Jennifer's parents. They're all coming. Jennifer's parents? My mother repeated, looking genuinely shocked. But they're not even family anymore. They're Amanda's grandparents, I pointed out. And they were appalled when they heard what you'd done. They immediately insisted on coming to support her. There was a long silence as this sank in. My mother looked genuinely flustered for the first time in my memory. We didn't mean to hurt Amanda, she finally said, her voice smaller. We just thought, you thought you could exclude a child from a family gathering and there would be no consequences, I finished for her. You thought I would still show up with my checkbook open to fund your perfect Thanksgiving while my daughter sat home alone. You were wrong. Sarah's voice came through the speaker, now with an edge of panic. You're still contributing to the catering, right? Mom's already placed the order with your portion included. And there it was, the real concern. Not Amanda's feelings, not family unity, but who would pay for their extravagant meal. I canceled my card for the event, I reminded them. I'm using that money to cater a meal where my daughter is welcome. You can't do that, Sarah exclaimed. The dinner is in 3 days. We can't afford to cover your portion at this point. Then perhaps you should reconsider your guest list, I suggested. I hear excluding people makes for a more relaxing gathering. My mother stood up abruptly. This conversation is getting us nowhere. Braden, I understand you're upset, but you're being vindictive now. I'm being protective of my child, I corrected her. There's a difference. What do you want from us? Sarah demanded from the phone. Just tell us what will make this right so we can move on. It's simple, I said. Acknowledge that what you did was cruel and hurtful. Apologize sincerely to Amanda, not with excuses or justifications, but with genuine remorse. And commit to treating her with the same respect and inclusion you showed Jackson and Sophia. And if we do all that, you'll come to Thanksgiving? My mother asked hopefully. No, I said firmly. As I said, we've made other plans, but it would be a start toward repairing the relationship for future gatherings. So you're giving us an ultimatum, my mother said stiffly. I'm setting a boundary, I corrected her. There's a difference there, too. After a few more minutes of circular argument, with Sarah continuing to insist I was overreacting, and my mother alternating between defensiveness and attempts at reconciliation, they finally left. My mother paused at the door. Think about what you're throwing away, she said. Family should come first. Amanda is my family, I replied. She comes first. Always. After they left, I sat down heavily on the couch, emotionally drained but certain I had made the right decision. The next day, my mother sent a text that I can only describe as a non-apology. We're sorry if our wording was insensitive. We never meant to hurt Amanda's feelings. We hope you'll reconsider joining us for the sake of family unity. I didn't respond. An apology that begins with if and ends with a request isn't an apology at all. And notably, the message was sent only to me, not to Amanda herself. With 2 days until Thanksgiving, I focused on finalizing our plans, determined to make this a holiday my daughter would remember for all the right reasons. Thanksgiving morning dawned bright and clear. I woke up early, a mixture of anticipation and nervousness fluttering in my stomach. This was the first major holiday I'd ever hosted, and I wanted everything to be perfect. Not my mother's version of perfect with its rigid rules and appearance-focused details, but perfect in the sense of creating a warm, joyful atmosphere where everyone felt welcome. Amanda burst into my room at 7:30, already dressed in the special outfit she'd picked out the night before, a burgundy dress with gold turkey appliques that would have made my mother cringe, but made Amanda feel festive and excited. "Dad, it's Thanksgiving," she announced, jumping onto my bed. "When are people coming? When will the food be here? Can I start putting out the decorations?" I laughed, pulling her in for a hug. "Slow down, kiddo. We've got plenty of time. The caterers aren't arriving until 1 o'clock, and our guests are coming at 3. But we have so much to do," she insisted, her eyes wide. "We have to make the place cards and set the table and put up all the decorations." Her enthusiasm was infectious. "You're right," I agreed, getting out of bed. "Why don't you start sorting the decorations while I make us some breakfast? We need fuel for all this holiday preparation." While Amanda organized the decorations in the living room, I made her favorite breakfast, pumpkin pancakes shaped like turkeys. It was a small tradition Jennifer and I had started when Amanda was a toddler, one I'd maintained after the divorce. As we ate, Amanda chattered excitedly about all her plans for the day. Her earlier heartbreak over my mother's rejection seemingly forgotten in the excitement of hosting our own celebration. After breakfast, we tackled the decorations. Amanda had very specific ideas about where everything should go, insisting that the paper turkeys needed to be where everyone can see them when they first come in, and the autumn leaf garland had to be draped just right along the mantel. I followed her directions, enjoying her excitement and creativity. By 11 o'clock, The house was transformed. Fall-colored streamers hung from doorways, paper lanterns in orange and yellow dangled from the ceiling light fixtures, and a beautiful autumn wreath adorned the front door. Amanda had created a thankful tree by cutting out a tree trunk from brown construction paper and attaching it to the wall, with colorful paper leaves nearby for guests to write what they were thankful for and add to the branches. "Now for the table," Amanda declared, pulling out the new tablecloth I'd ordered, a rich burgundy fabric with subtle gold threading that caught the light beautifully. Together, we set the dining table, which I'd expanded with an extra leaf to accommodate all our guests. Amanda carefully placed each plate, folded each napkin, and arranged the silverware with intense concentration. Then she brought out her homemade place cards, each one personalized with a drawing that represented the guest. Thomas's card featured a computer, for his job as a programmer, with a smiling face. Mrs. Patterson's showed a cat that looked remarkably like her orange tabby, Felix. Jennifer's parents' cards had hearts and the word grandparents in Amanda's careful printing. "These are beautiful," I told her, genuinely impressed by the thought she'd put into each one. "Everyone's going to love them." At 1 o'clock precisely, the doorbell rang. Maria from Homestead Kitchen and her team had arrived with the catered meal. Amanda watched in awe as they brought in container after container of delicious-smelling food. "We'll set everything up in your kitchen," Maria explained. "The turkey needs to stay warm in its container until serving time, but we'll arrange the cold dishes in your refrigerator and leave detailed instructions for heating everything else." As they worked, I could see Amanda practically vibrating with excitement, peering into each container as it was opened. When Maria revealed the mac and cheese, a special request I'd made because it was Amanda's favorite, my daughter's eyes widened. "Dad, you got mac and cheese for Thanksgiving?" "Of course," I said, smiling at her reaction. "It's your favorite, isn't it?" She threw her arms around me in a fierce hug. "This is going to be the best Thanksgiving ever." After the caterers left, with everything neatly arranged in the kitchen and detailed heating instructions provided, Amanda and I took a short break. I noticed my phone had several missed calls and texts from my mother and sister, but I ignored them. Today was about creating a new tradition, not dwelling on the old one. At 2:30, the doorbell rang again. It was Thomas and his family, the first to arrive. Alicia carried a beautiful bouquet of fall flowers, while their children, Emma, 9, and Tyler, 7, immediately ran to Amanda with excited greetings. "We brought Uno and Jenga," Emma announced, showing Amanda the games she'd brought. "Mom said we could play after dinner." "I have the new rainbow unicorn cards too," Amanda replied, leading her friends to her room to show them her collection. Thomas handed me a bottle of wine. "Thanks for including us, man. The kids have been talking about nothing else for days." "We're happy to have you," I replied sincerely. "It means a lot that you guys came." Next to arrive was Daniel, looking better than he had in months. The stress of his divorce proceedings had taken a visible toll on him over the past year, but today he seemed more like his old self. "Uncle Danny!" Amanda cried, running from her room to launch herself into his arms. Daniel had been a constant presence in Amanda's life since she was born, and she adored him. "There's my favorite artist," Daniel said, swinging her around. "I brought something for you." He handed her a small package. Amanda tore it open to reveal a set of professional quality colored pencils. "These are amazing," she gasped. "Thank you, Uncle Danny." "Only the best for my favorite niece," he replied with a wink. Mrs. Patterson arrived next, carrying 2 homemade pies, despite my assurances that dessert would be provided. "Thanksgiving needs homemade pie," she insisted. "I made apple and pecan. Amanda told me last week those are your favorites." As Amanda led Mrs. Patterson to the kitchen to find places for the pies, I was struck by how thoughtful everyone was being. These people, some friends, some neighbors, some extended family, had come together on short notice, not just to celebrate a holiday, but specifically to support Amanda and make her feel special. The contrast with my biological family's attitude couldn't have been more stark. Here, Amanda was bouncing around, being her energetic, talkative self, and everyone was responding with affection and engagement. No one was shooting disapproving glances or making pointed comments about her behavior. Instead, Thomas's wife Alicia was showing genuine interest in Amanda's detailed explanation of her thankful tree project, and Daniel had gotten down on the floor to play a card game with all three kids, seemingly unbothered by their loud exclamations each time someone played a special card. By 3:30, all our guests had arrived except for Jennifer's parents, who would be joining us later for dessert. The house hummed with conversation and laughter. I moved through the rooms, making sure everyone had drinks and appetizers, feeling a sense of contentment I hadn't experienced at a family gathering in years. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. Another text from my mother. "The family is all here now. Your absence is noticeable. The twins are asking about you. It's not too late to join us for dessert." Not a word about Amanda in the message. I turned off my phone without responding and rejoined my guests, determined to be fully present in this new tradition we were creating. At 4 o'clock, we gathered around the table for dinner. The food was laid out beautifully, a golden brown turkey, surrounded by all the traditional fixings, plus the special mac and cheese for Amanda and the kids. Before we began eating, I suggested we go around the table and share something we were thankful for, a tradition my family had always rushed through as a formality before digging into the food. "I'll start," offered Mrs. Patterson. "I'm thankful for neighbors who become family, and for being included in this wonderful gathering when I thought I'd be spending the day alone." Daniel went next. "I'm thankful for old friends who are there when life gets hard, and for new beginnings." Thomas's daughter Emma said, "I'm thankful for making a new best friend," smiling at Amanda, who beamed back at her. When it was Amanda's turn, she looked around the table with serious consideration before speaking. "I'm thankful for all of you coming to our Thanksgiving, and for my dad who made everything perfect." Her simple words brought an unexpected lump to my throat. Throughout the meal, conversation flowed easily. The children talked and laughed, occasionally getting up from the table to show each other something or whispering secretively about their games. Nobody scolded them or insisted they sit perfectly still. Instead, the adults simply incorporated their energy into the celebration, asking them questions and including them in the conversation. After the main course, as we were clearing plates in preparation for dessert, I turned my phone back on to check if Jennifer's parents were on their way. I had several missed calls and a flurry of texts from my family. Instead of more attempts at guilt-tripping, however, they had moved on to sending pictures, selfies from their own Thanksgiving table. "Mom, look at our beautiful Thanksgiving table. So peaceful and elegant this year." The photo showed my mother, father, sister, brother-in-law, and the twins, all posed with perfect smiles around my mother's formal dining table. The twins sat ramrod straight, not a hair out of place. Sarah, Jackson, and Sophia performed a Thanksgiving piano duet for everyone. You missed a wonderful moment. Another photo showed the twins at my mother's grand piano, looking serious and formal in their matching outfits. Then came the message that made my blood boil. "Mom, see how lovely everything is? You're still welcome to join us alone if you want. We have plenty of leftovers." Alone. The word jumped out at me. They were still, even now, excluding Amanda, still failing to understand why that was wrong. I was about to shut off my phone again when a better idea struck me. I gathered everyone in our living room, where Amanda and the other children were showing Daniel how to play their card game, and Mrs. Patterson was teaching Thomas's wife Alicia her secret pie crust technique. "Can I get a picture of everyone?" I asked. "I want to remember our first, chosen family Thanksgiving." Everyone gathered together, informal and relaxed. Amanda sat on Daniel's lap. Emma and Tyler crowded in beside them. Mrs. Patterson stood behind them with her gentle smile, and Thomas and Alicia completed the group. I set the timer on my phone camera and hurried to join them. The resulting photo captured something my mother's perfect tableau never could: genuine joy. Everyone was smiling or laughing, some looking at the camera, others caught mid-conversation. Amanda was beaming, her hair slightly mussed, her dress a bit wrinkled from playing, but radiating happiness. I sent the photo to the family group chat with a simple caption: "This is what Thanksgiving is supposed to look like. Amanda says hi." Then I silenced my phone again and rejoined the celebration. Just as Mrs. Patterson was serving her homemade pies, The doorbell rang. Jennifer's parents, Martha and Robert, had arrived. "Grandma! Grandpa!" Amanda shouted, running to hug them. Martha embraced her tightly while Robert ruffled her hair affectionately. "There's our girl," Martha said warmly. "We've been looking forward to seeing you all day." Robert handed me a bakery box. "We brought some extra desserts, though it looks like you've got quite a spread already." "Always room for more dessert," I assured him, genuinely pleased to see them. Despite the divorce, Jennifer's parents had always made an effort to maintain their relationship with Amanda and to stay on good terms with me. As everyone settled in with dessert, Martha pulled me aside. "Jennifer told us everything," she said quietly. "I want you to know how proud we are of you for standing up for Amanda. That child deserves all the love and support in the world." "Thank you," I said, touched by her words. "It means a lot that you came." "Of course we came," she said firmly. "We're her grandparents. That doesn't change just because you and Jennifer aren't together anymore." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of games, conversation, and laughter. The kids played Uno while the adults chatted, with Amanda flitting between the two groups, fully engaged and completely herself. No one told her to be quieter or to sit still. No one compared her unfavorably to other children. She was accepted and celebrated exactly as she was. Around 7 o'clock my phone rang. It was Jennifer, calling to wish Amanda a happy Thanksgiving. I put the call on speakerphone so Amanda could talk to her mother. "Mom, we're having the best Thanksgiving ever," Amanda exclaimed. "Grandma and Grandpa are here, and I made a new best friend named Emma, and Uncle Danny gave me special artist pencils." "That sounds wonderful, sweetie," Jennifer replied, her voice warm. "I'm so glad you're having a good time." After Amanda had shared all her excitement and handed the phone back to me, Jennifer said quietly, "You did good, Braden. Really good." Those words, coming from my ex-wife, who had seen me at my worst during our marriage breakdown, meant more than I could express. "Thanks, Jen. That means a lot." As the evening wore on and guests began to leave, each person made a point of thanking Amanda as well as me, telling her what a wonderful hostess she had been. The pride on her face as she accepted their compliments was worth every bit of effort that had gone into creating this alternative celebration. By 9 o'clock, when the last guests had departed and Amanda was getting ready for bed, I checked my phone one final time. There were no more messages from my mother or sister, just a simple text from my father. "The kids missed you today, both of you. Call when you can." It wasn't an apology, but it was an acknowledgement. A small crack in the wall of righteousness my mother and sister had built. Maybe, just maybe, there was hope for eventual reconciliation on new terms that included respect for Amanda and recognition of her worth. As I tucked Amanda into bed, she looked up at me with sleepy eyes. "Dad, this was the best Thanksgiving ever." "I thought so too, sweetie. Can we do it again next year? With all the same people? If that's what you want," I promised her. "I do," she said, yawning. "I like our new family, chosen family." The phrase settled in my heart as I kissed her goodnight and turned out the light. The day after Thanksgiving, I was cleaning up the last remnants of our celebration when my phone rang. I was surprised to see Sarah's name on the caller ID. After a moment's hesitation, I answered. "Braden?" My sister's voice sounded different, subdued, even shaky. "Yes? I." She paused, and I realized with shock that she was crying. Sarah never cried, at least not that I had seen since we were children. "I need to talk to you." "I'm listening," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Yesterday was awful," she confessed. "After you sent that picture, everything fell apart." "What do you mean?" "Dad saw how happy Amanda looked in your photo and got upset with Mom. He said he'd gone along with excluding Amanda because Mom insisted it would be better for everyone, but seeing how much fun you were all having made him realize how wrong it was. They had a huge argument right at the dinner table. I hadn't expected that. My father rarely challenged my mother on anything, preferring to keep the peace at all costs. Then Aunt Kathy asked what was going on, and Mom had to explain why you and Amanda weren't there. She tried to make it sound like you were being difficult, but when Aunt Kathy heard the whole story, she got really upset. She said excluding a child from a family gathering was cruel and that she was ashamed of us. Aunt Kathy was my mother's older sister, a retired elementary school principal who had always had a soft spot for Amanda's exuberant personality. "What happened then?" I asked. "Aunt Kathy and Uncle Jim left early. So did Cousin Michael and his family. The twins were confused about why everyone was arguing and why people were leaving. The whole dinner was tense and uncomfortable." Sarah's voice cracked. "It was supposed to be perfect without Amanda there, but it was the worst Thanksgiving we've ever had." I felt a complex mix of emotions: vindication that others had recognized the wrongness of excluding Amanda, sadness at the family conflict, but no real regret. Sometimes difficult truths needed to be confronted. "I'm sorry your day was stressful," I said finally, "but I'm not sorry I stood up for Amanda." "I know," Sarah said softly, "and I think maybe you were right." That admission, coming from my perfectionist sister, who never admitted to being wrong about anything, left me momentarily speechless. "The twins kept asking why Uncle Braden and Amanda weren't there," she continued. "When they finally understood what had happened, Sophia started crying. She said she didn't want Amanda to think she didn't like her. Jackson said it wasn't fair to blame Amanda for being different. Kids often had clearer moral compasses than adults, it seemed." "They have a point," I said gently. "I know. I've been thinking a lot about it. I've always been so focused on the twins being perfect that I never stopped to consider what that was teaching them, or how unfair I've been to Amanda." It was the first genuine self-reflection I'd ever heard from my sister. "It's not too late to change that approach," I offered. "Maybe," she said uncertainly. "Mom's still upset. She says you humiliated her by sending that picture and showing everyone having a better time without her perfect Thanksgiving." "That wasn't my intention," I said truthfully. "I just wanted to show that Amanda was having a wonderful day surrounded by people who appreciate her." "I understand that now," Sarah admitted. "Listen, I don't know where we go from here, but I wanted to call and to apologize. For my part in hurting Amanda, it was wrong." "Thank you," I said, genuinely moved by her apology. "That means a lot. And for what it's worth, I think this could be a turning point for all of us if we're willing to learn from it." After speaking with Sarah, I spent the morning reflecting on everything that had happened while Amanda was at a playdate with her new friend Emma. Around noon, my phone rang again. This time, it was my mother. "Braden," she began, her voice lacking its usual authoritative tone. "Your father thinks I should call you." Not exactly a promising start to an apology. "I'm listening," I echoed my earlier response to Sarah. "Yesterday was difficult," she said carefully. "Many people were upset about your absence." "Amanda's absence," I corrected gently. "That was the core issue." A pause. "Yes, about that. Perhaps I was hasty in suggesting she not attend." "It wasn't a suggestion, Mom. You explicitly uninvited my 8-year-old daughter from a family holiday because she doesn't behave according to your standards." Another pause, longer this time. "I can see how it could be interpreted that way. How else could, 'We're doing Thanksgiving with just the well-behaved kids this year, Amanda can skip' be interpreted?" I asked, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. "I didn't mean to hurt her feelings," my mother said defensively. "I just wanted a peaceful day." "And was it peaceful? Without us there?" She sighed deeply. "No, it was not, Mom. I understand wanting a nice family gathering, but excluding a child is never the way to achieve that. All it did was hurt Amanda deeply and show her that her grandmother's acceptance is conditional on her behaving in a certain way. I don't want her to think that," my mother said, and for the first time, I heard genuine regret in her voice. "I do love Amanda." "I believe you do," I said. "But love has to include acceptance and respect. Amanda needs to know that she's valued for who she is, not rejected for who she isn't." "I suppose I haven't been very good at showing that," my mother admitted reluctantly. "No, and it's affected her deeply. She started doubting herself, questioning whether she's a bad person because her own family seems to think so." That revelation seemed to hit my mother hard. I never wanted that. I don't always know how to handle her energy. She's so different from how you and Sarah were, and so different from the twins. Different doesn't mean wrong, I pointed out. And children aren't supposed to be convenient or perfectly behaved all the time. They're supposed to be children. Your Aunt Kathy said something similar, my mother acknowledged. Rather forcefully, in fact. She's right. A long silence stretched between us before my mother spoke again. I owe Amanda an apology, don't I? Yes, I agreed. A sincere one, without qualifications or expectations. And you? Will you accept my apology as well? I will. But rebuilding trust will take time, Mom. For both of us. I understand, she said quietly. Do you think, would it be possible for me to speak with Amanda? Not today necessarily, but soon. I think that would be good, I said. Let me talk to her first and see how she feels about it. After ending the call with my mother, I felt a weight lifting that I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying. Standing up to my family hadn't been easy, but it had been necessary, not just for Amanda's sake, but for all of us. Sometimes old patterns needed to be broken before healthier ones could form. When Amanda returned from her playdate, bubbling with stories about her day with Emma, I sat her down for a gentle conversation. Sweetheart, Grandma called today. She wanted me to tell you that she's sorry for what happened with Thanksgiving. She realizes now that it wasn't fair or kind to exclude you. Amanda looked down at her hands. Does she still think I'm not well behaved enough? No, honey. She's starting to understand that being a little louder or more energetic than the twins doesn't make you bad or wrong. It just makes you you. And you are perfect exactly as you are. She looked up at me, her eyes searching mine. Really? Really, I assured her. Grandma would like to talk to you sometime soon to apologize herself. Would that be okay with you? Amanda thought about it seriously before nodding. I think so. I miss Grandma sometimes, even when she's being grumpy about me. That's very understanding of you, I told her, proud of her capacity for forgiveness. And next time we see Grandma and the rest of the family, things are going to be different. I'm going to make sure of it. Can we still have our own Thanksgiving next year, though? She asked anxiously. With Emma and Tyler and Uncle Danny and Mrs. Patterson? Absolutely. I promised. In fact, I was thinking we might make it a new tradition, a chosen family Thanksgiving, for anyone who wants to be part of a celebration where everyone is welcomed exactly as they are. I like that, Amanda said with a smile. Chosen family. Over the next few weeks, several important changes unfolded. My mother did indeed call Amanda directly to apologize, and while the conversation was a bit stilted, it was a meaningful first step. Sarah arranged for the twins to have a playdate with Amanda, without the usual hovering and correcting, and the cousins actually seemed to enjoy each other's company when given the chance to interact naturally. As Christmas approached, I made it clear to my family that Amanda and I would only participate in gatherings where she was fully welcomed and respected. To my surprise, they agreed without argument to my conditions. My father even called me privately to say how proud he was of me for finally standing up to your mother when it really counted. The Christmas gathering, while not perfect, was noticeably different. There were still moments of tension when Amanda's energy level rose, but instead of sharp looks and criticism, my mother made visible efforts to engage with her, asking about her art projects, and actually listening to her enthusiastic responses. The twins, freed from some of the pressure to be perfect, seemed more relaxed as well, even joining Amanda in an impromptu dance party after dinner that would have been unthinkable before. But the most profound change was in Amanda herself. As the criticism and comparison diminished, her confidence began to rebuild. She stopped asking if she was being good enough and started simply being herself again, the bright, creative, energetic child she was meant to be. The journey wasn't over, of course. Family dynamics don't transform overnight, and there would be more conversations, more boundaries to establish, more learning for all of us. But we had taken the first crucial steps toward a healthier relationship, and through it all, we maintained our new tradition of chosen family gatherings, expanding them to include other holidays throughout the year. These celebrations, where people came together by choice rather than obligation, became the highlight of our calendar. In standing up for Amanda, I had discovered something important. Family isn't just about blood relations. It's about who shows up, who accepts you, who celebrates rather than merely tolerates your authentic self. Sometimes the family you choose is just as important as the family you're born into. As Amanda said to me on New Year's Eve, as we celebrated with our now expanded circle of chosen family, "Dad, I'm glad you taught me that it's okay to be myself, even when some people don't like it. And I'm glad you found people who like me just the way I am." "Me too, sweetie," I told her, watching her eyes shine with a confidence that had been dimming under my family's criticism. "That's the most important lesson of all." What about you? Have you ever had to choose between pleasing family and standing up for what's right? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it too. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and I wish you a holiday season filled with acceptance, joy, and the love of those who appreciate you exactly as you are.